here's what I wanted to do today in the fellowship. I wanted to offer a tool or a key of a way of studying the Torah. And the stories in this week's Torah portion, they're very known. The binding of Isaac. Abraham is called to take his only son that was meant to inherit him in his ways and build the nation of Israel and sacrifice him. And Abraham had to contend with that. But wasn't only Abraham's test. Isaac was not a young boy. He was a young man. And a lot of like the Bible stories or like kind of the cartoons that we imagine, or when we think of it, when we're told that story, we imagine Abraham taking like a child, and it's like a child sacrifice. But in the lineage, and definitely in the Midrashim, Isaac is not a young boy, he's a young man. And Isaac is well aware of what's going on, and he is participating in the process. And it's Isaac theoretically is stronger than Abraham. Isaac can be like, I'm running away. I'm not going to participate in this process of my father's lost his mind. His whole life, he's been fighting against child sacrifice, and now he's sacrificing me. God promised me to be the continuations. I'm out of here. And he could just run away, and Abraham was old, and I don't think Abraham would be able to catch him. And so it was Isaac's self-sacrifice. It was two movements that are meant to be shown in this biblical saga. But it's more than just the story. What we're supposed to do, the Torah is a poetry, and it's a song, it's a prayer. And the highest level of learning Torah is when the Torah that we learn becomes our prayer. And so the tool that I want to give, and we can even try to do it now, is to actually put yourself in Abraham's shoes and in Isaac's shoes, because it's two different tests. One is to sacrifice that what's dearest to you. And so when I was learning the Torah portion, I was kind of closing my eyes and thinking about, taking my child. And it dawned on me that in just a few months, Lavi is going to be entering into the IDF. He'll be a soldier in the army. And here I am offering him to Israel for him to do what he needs to do, to defend our land, to defend our country, to defend our people, to defend our freedom, to really defend the whole world. That's what I believe. And Akiva is just a few years after him. And so to really offer that as a sacrifice up to Hashem, if that's what's being asked of Abraham, and that's what's really being asked of every Israeli parent, is to offer their children up into the unknown on behalf of a cause and a mission much greater than them. And then I had to think about Abraham and his walk, and then Isaac's walk. And as I was thinking about that, well, if I was called to give up my life, and for whatever reason, I don't understand why Isaac needed to be sacrificed, but if I had to be sacrificed, well, there's many times where Ari and I went out on missions, and every mission, if you open up that door in a house in Gaza, or if you're in a cave in an ambush on the border, you have to just, if you're going to die, so be it. You're there to defend the civilians of Israel. You're there to defend your family, and you have to be ready to give up your life. And I know that's not an average life in the United States of America, but in Israel, it is. We have to know that, if we are to be called into the first army since the times of King David went out to war, and so too we need to go out to war and defend our freedom and fight for our rights, and we have to kind of give that up. And as I was thinking about those two meditations, because they're prayers, those stories, as we're reading them, they're meant to be our prayers. Would I be willing to be like Abraham and walk into the unknown? Would I be willing to be like Isaac and give myself up? And I then heard a beautiful story, a story that I want to share with the fellowship. I was in the studio last week, and my guitarist, who's really a holy, righteous Jew, told me a story that is an ancient Hasidic story from the lineage of Chabad. He didn't know which Rebbe in the lineage said over the story, but it's just an ancient story that comes somewhere out there in Lubavitch, up there in Russia and Ukraine and Poland, in that area. And he said there was a master in a circus, famous circus. Hundreds of people would be coming to the circus. And in the middle of the show, the leader of the circus put a wire from one end of the circus tent to the other, and he took out the fence. And then he called out in his, make microphone to the audience, who here is ready to walk along the wire? And the whole audience is like stunned. Who in the audience is dare going to do that? If they fall, they're going to die. And so no one raises their hand. And he's like, who has the courage? And then one man in the audience raises his hand and says, I'll do it. And the circus leader is excited. He's like, all right, let's place bets. All right, if he falls to his death, or is he going to make it to the other side? And the audience is, oh my gosh, they're excited. Almost everyone votes against the guy. They're excited. They're going to, not only are they going to get to watch this spectacle like in the Colosseum of someone dying as they fall down, but they're also going to make a lot of money. And the man gets up to the top of the wire and just cruises across. And he's so happy. He's like counting his money. He won that bet. And the audience is stunned. How did he do that? And then he tells the audience, I want you to know, I'm pretty good at tightrope. I'm a professional. And he says, well, if you're so good, can you do it backwards? He says, yeah, I can do it backwards. And he says, all right, let's bet. Everyone, let's bet. And at this point now, half the audience is like, oh, I'm betting with this guy. This guy's good. Half the audience is like, backwards. He'll never be able to make it backwards. And then walks backwards right across, wins the bet. He's counting his money. He's so excited. He's rocking it. Then the leader of the said, can you do it with a wheelbarrow? And the man says, well, I've never done it with a wheelbarrow, but pretty heavy. I think I can do it though. He said, well, let's make the bets. 3/4 of the audience says he can do it. And 1/4 says, no, it's too heavy. It's too crazy. It's going to mess up his balance. Gets up to the top of the lines, walks right across, cruises by, and he makes it. He's super happy. He's won 3 bets in a row. And then the final thing says, well, can you do it with a wheelbarrow with a human being in the wheelbarrow? And then the audience is like, wow. And the guy thinks about it and he says, yeah, I think I can do that. And he says, all right, who wants to put down the bets? The entire audience bets that he can do it. The whole audience puts their money down and it says, this guy can do it. And then the circus leader says, is there a volunteer to get in the wheelbarrow? And no one wants to volunteer. No one wants to get in the wheel. They're happy to put their money down. They'll bet, but to actually go up onto the thing and with no net in the wheelbarrow of this guy on the thing, no one wants to do that. And then the circus leader's kind of waiting, what's going to happen? And no one wants to go. And then one young man in the audience raises his hand and says, I'll go. The crowd cheers. They're so excited. What a show. What a show. He goes up to the top of the thing and he walks right across. Wheelbarrow and all. He says, how did you have the courage to do that? And the young man in the wheelbarrow said, this guy's my Abba. Of course I'll go in the wheelbarrow. I trust my Abba. I trust my father. And that's the end of the story. And that story there is a meditation because there are so many challenges in life. We have no idea. We have, our dear friend Becky, you can see her right here. She had to go to a checkup. Is the checkup going to say that her cancer has disappeared? Has it come back? You're in a wheelbarrow on a tightrope and you have no idea. Bridget and Harold, they've been struggling. Oh gosh, one surgery after another surgery. They're just in a wheelbarrow on a tightrope and they don't know. And there's so many challenges that people face. And a lot of us, just like Isaac, to be in a wheelbarrow on a tightrope and trust that our Abba is going to bring us along to the end. And we should all just be blessed that as we read these stories of Avraham and Yitzchak, to trust in our Father, that he will get us on this tightrope, on this narrow bridge across the world, and to know that if our Father's pushing us on the wheelbarrow, we're going to make it on the other side. And that is bitachon in Hashem. That is to trust in Hashem. And we should be all blessed and be strengthened by the courage and the faith of our fathers, Abraham and Isaac, and all the struggles that we go through. No, we're in the wheelbarrow. Let go and let God, and we'll get to the other side.